Well, success. It's absolutely torrentially raining. I reset my sets yesterday, of course, and then it's about an hour after I finished, it started to rain. We got a big old coon here in this cubby box. He's using the cubby box because it was snowing. Now the snow is gone, but you can see it's right next to the water here. Water's coming back up again. This is a 160. Very strict rules for using cubbies here. You can see I have this box I actually made for Fisher, but I figured it would work for coon too, and apparently it has. This is the first coon I've taken in it. So it uses a 160 trap, but it has to be recessed way back in the box. But yeah, it worked. He didn't go too far. Pretty nice looking coon. You can see I have the chain anchored to the T-pin here. Box has to be anchored down so it can't be rolled over, and then it has to be recessed 7 inches back into the face, and then the entranceway has to be less than 50 square inches. And so this one is, you can see how I put the lats in it to reduce the entrance diameter, and you can see it's cut way back. The trap almost goes back to the pin, so something has to commit to go into it. But it worked on Mr. Raccoon here. He's the only catch on a very wet day, but I'll take it. Alright, there we go. Nice coon. Pretty pale fur on him actually. Usually the coons I see are here much darker fur. This has the darker fur on his back. Pretty decent size one. That's funny. Looks like he has a scar on his hand that maybe he got caught in a dog proof before and got out. You see the scar? That's funny. His foot is just fine, but good condition. He's in good shape. All right, let's load him up. As you can see, it is super wet. Actually, I have my chest waders on and it's pouring. It's pouring rain. Go figure. All right, let's get on. Okay, sitting back in the old trapping van. It's freaking pouring out. But we had a successful catch on our first day check after resetting our traps. I'm pleased to have caught something in that Fisher box. Of course, I built it for the purpose of catching Fisher, but I had a pretty good feeling that it would also work for a raccoon. Sometimes raccoons, they're kind of sketchy. Sometimes they won't go into a solid box. So that box is solid all the way around. It doesn't have an open bottom on it. And it is a narrow entrance. Like I said, the hole is less than 50 square inches. So the box is deep, and I made it deep enough that they can't reach their feet in to grab, you know, bait in the back of the box and then pull the bait out, because he has to commit to going into the box. That's the deal with it. And it worked. I mean, that was a perfect catch, right behind the ear, right behind the back of the, you know, right behind the back of the skull. It was instant dispatch. You know, that worked absolutely perfectly. But it is a wet day. Inches of rain again last night. I'm sliding around all over the place, freaking up to my ankles in mud. all my dirt hole sets that I had out, all bar the one that I had on the hill, are just full of water again. It's like battling weather all the time. Nothing in the cables. And it was funny, last week when I was up here checking for tracks and stuff like that in the snow, there was not one raccoon track anywhere. And that's pretty common. They tend to den up when it's really cold like that. They'll den up and they won't come out, and then you'll get a little break in the weather like this. We had a rise in temperature, a lot of rain, and then snow melt off pretty quickly, which leads to more flooding and high water. But I've seen in my drive from my house to here, I've seen 3 or 4 grinners already hit on the road, and those are the first ones I'd seen in a long time. So animals like that are out moving around again. I just don't like seeing them getting hit on the road. That's just a waste. But it shows that they're out moving around when you get breaks in the weather. That's, if you can plan around setting around breaks in the weather, you can be very productive. Sets in cold weather, I find, at least here, when I get like sub-zero temperatures, the only animals that are really moving around are your predator animals, the bobcat, the coyote, the fox. Those animals will still be out even in like bitter cold conditions. Of course, if you're trapping beaver under the ice, well, that's a little different too. They'll be out going to feed piles and stuff. But other animals, the raccoons, the possums, the skunks, animals like that, they don't move around in the cold. They stand up, they stay in, they hold out, and then they'll come out and look for food when the weather breaks. But it was funny, I had seen right up from that box, I actually had a DP set, and then down from the box and down from the DP I had a dirt hole set. So nothing to touch the dirt hole, nothing to touch the DP. So obviously he went to the box first. He had come up the little creek, he'd come up the creek and then got to the box first before he got to the DP. I had lost the last time before the snow, I had lost a raccoon in that DP. He had escaped out of it, and I'm wondering if it was him, because he has a mark on his wrist from where he looked like he was held in a DP. But what they do is that I have it anchored to the tree, and sometimes the bigger coons, they're very powerful. They're very deceptive for their size. That animal is very strong. He's very, very powerful. And what they'll do is if they can get 3 feet, if he has 1 foot stuck in that DP and he can get 3 feet, his back feet or one of his front feet, to grip onto something to be able to lever himself against that trap, he will pull his foot out of that trap. I've had that happen several times. They are not escape proof by any means. They are not escape proof. But that's part of the risk that you run with anchoring it to a big tree or a log or something like that. You just got to kind of watch where you are, and see what he can grip. I had actually trimmed all the lower branches of that tree off, because a lot of them were broken anyway, because the coons were hanging out of it before. But I've trimmed it that it's a couple of feet off the ground. It's just bare trunk, but they can still grip the trunk. They get it just right. They can get their arm around it and pull enough leverage with their body to slide their foot out of the trap. Especially when it's raining like this, they can get slick. That's why I don't use oil. If you're putting lure on a DP, fine, but don't use fish oil on a DP, because it's going to lubricate the freaking spring hook so he can pull his foot out of it. It's like having leaves on top of a foothold. The leaves are slick, and it doesn't provide any friction, and the animal can pull their foot out of it if they've got leaves packed in it. But I'm glad I caught something in that box that it worked. But we'll keep checking and see what happens. Hopefully the weather will improve a little bit. I've got a couple of more days to check. I'd like to run into another canine, but we'll see. Just needed to stop raining for a little bit. All right, well, I'll leave it at that for this one, and I'll see you on the next one. The old coon tree got me again. Man, he freaking wrapped it right around there. Look at it. Oh, my bait is gone. Yeah, what are you gonna do? It's getting cold now. I might not see coons moving too much. It's starting to get below freezing again. But yeah, look at. That's exactly, the trap was out here. That's exactly what he did. Wrapped it around the tree. You can see where I cut all the branches off it so I didn't have any grip, but he locked it in there around that one little branch. pulled his foot out. Great. Well, 2 misses tonight on coons. What are you going to do? See how they use that tree for a lever? This goes to show you that they can, if they get enough leverage on it, they can pull their hand out of it. Those springs are freaking strong. They're strong. I was fighting myself if I should put a foothold at that tree, because that is a really good location that gets a lot of traffic for coon. But we'll see. We'll keep checking. Keep working with the coons.